This question was recently posed very discreetly by Catholic Bishop Richard Williamson, but he was branded immediately a revisionist, a denier, an anti-Semite. Abuse, insults, discredit, all the noise in the world, but the question is never addressed, because the question that is being asked, why is there no serious historical investigation, that is never addressed. How powerful are the Zionists that even the Vatican trembles with unholy fear? Second question. If European Jews were persecuted in Europe by Europeans, the Germans, the Austrians and others, why was territorial reparation exacted from Palestinians, who had no role in that persecution? Israel, in actual fact, in 1948, did not win independence. They violently usurped Palestine, driving millions from their homes using terrorist tactics. There were 4 major terrorist organizations at that time: the Lehi, the Haganah, the Stern Group, which was led by former Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir, and the Irgun Tzvai Leumi, which was led by former Prime Minister Menachem Begin. They were terrorist organizations, and in 1948 these 4 organizations merged into what is known now as the Israeli Defense Forces, in other words, the armed forces of the State of Israel. Third, if Europeans persecuted European Jews, shouldn't they have to give a part of their territory to the Zionists so that they can set up their homeland there? Why not give them a part of Bavaria or Schleswig-Holstein in Germany so that they can set up their Zionist state? You know, there is still time to right these wrongs. You can create and finance a Zionist state in Europe, resettle all the Israelites there, and give Palestine back to the Palestinians. Then you'll see how quickly we will be on the road towards pacification of the Middle East. Fourth question. Why is persecution of Jews put on a class of its own, differentiating it from other genocides and persecutions of the 20th and 21st centuries? As I said at the beginning, over 150 million people were killed in a dark and long list of war and genocide. Russians, Ukrainians, Cambodians, Vietnamese, Chinese, Indians, Koreans, Iraqis, Jews, Germans, Spaniards, South Africans, Hutus, Tutsis, Biafrans, Burmese, Japanese, Chinese, Armenians, Palestinians, Poles, Albanians, Croatians, Chechenians, Colombians, Cubans, Argentinians, Afghanis, Salvadorians, Panamanians, Guatemalans, South Africans, Algerians, Syrians, Egyptians. It's a horribly long list of murdered people. But why only one of these mass murders is given a differentiating, almost religious aura, and even a specific name, a brand name, a trademark? The Holocaust. Setting it aside and giving it a very special, superior category from all others. I ask you, are dead Jews worth more than other dead people? If so, the corollary is obvious. Living Jews are also worth more than other peoples. Living Jews are worth more than Palestinians, than Lebanese, than Iraqis. I hate to say it this way, but at least let's bring it out in the open. What is the rate of exchange that we have to apply here? 1 Jew worth 10 Syrians? Or 1,000 Lebanese? Or 10,000 Palestinians? Or 1 Jew worth 100,000 Iraqis? The insinuation is very clear for all. Are Jews somehow superior to the rest of mankind? Because they are God's chosen people, but which God? A cosmic God chose them? A Christian God chose them? Or is it the bloodthirsty demiurge of the book of Deuteronomy, the book of Judges, and the book of Esther in the Bible? Let's let in a breath of honest, fresh air. Let's bring this out into the open. Let's voice it clearly. At least let Zionists have the honesty of saying it outright. All men are not created equal. Fifth, why is open debate so much feared? Why are people that are asking these questions immediately reviled, attacked, disqualified, insulted, ridiculed, misquoted, mishandled, misjudged? I insist, it is 0.2% of the global population doing this to the other 99.8% of the rest of us. 6. You see, today the Holocaust is touted as a historical fact, but in fact it's a credo, and it must be accepted and believed, exactly as the myth has been concocted. No investigation, no rationalization, no public debate, no discussion. It must be believed. Just like a Christian must believe that Christ was the Son of God, that he resurrected after the crucifixion, and that he was raised to heaven, and that he shall return to judge us all. If you do not accept this dogma, simple, you're not a Christian. Come to think of it, the Holocaust dogma is so powerful that today it's almost on par with the Christian dogma. The Holocaust is a guilt generation machine bent on making us all aware and feeling guilty, even if you were not there, even if you were not a Nazi, even if you were not even born, as I was not born at that time. It's generational guilt falling on the sons and the sons of sons. 8th question. In the so-called West, are we seeing the suffering of one on the cross who died for the sins of mankind being replaced by the suffering of 6 million in the Holocaust who died because of the indifference of humanity? Is the Vatican Church even listening to this? 9th question. How is it that the whole world press aligns behind the Zionist creed, which I insist only represents 0.2% of the world population? Is there so much power in the hands of Zionist leadership that 0.2% can impose its will on the remaining 99.8% of mankind? Isn't this a case of gross and blatant discrimination by a tiny yet immensely powerful minority against the vast majority of peoples in every corner of the world, in almost every country? The history of the Jews is one of suffering and persecution. They have constantly bewailed the curse of anti-Semitism. It's true. Jews have been persecuted, and they have been expelled since time immemorial. Jews were expelled from Babylonia. Jews were expelled from Egypt in ancient times. They were expelled from Palestine by the Romans in the year 70 AD. They were expelled from England in 1289. They were expelled from Spain and Portugal in 1493. They were expelled from France, Germany, Austria, Russia, Poland, Ukraine, Romania. They have been resisted and discriminated over the past century in the United States, in the United Kingdom, in Europe, in Latin America, in India, in Argentina even. Why? Theodor Herzl, the father of Zionism, says in his book, The Jewish State, wherever Jews go, they carry anti-Semitism with them. So it's really an either-or. Either all peoples of the world, through humanity, through the millennia of time and geographical space, all suffer from a common mental illness or disorder called anti-Semitism, of which the Jews are simply innocent victims, or something in Jewish social behavior, or at least on the part of their elites, elicits growing resistance among host populations that leads to discrimination, resistance, and expulsion. Which will it be? Therefore, we need to openly debate these key questions: Zionism, anti-Semitism, discrimination, and the Holocaust. That is a key factor to understand the New World Order, because it's the rationale behind it. It's a sort of missing link. Without it, the whole irrationality of today's violent world can often hardly be understood. And Jewish communities the world over should be the first to help us by bringing themselves to understanding the terrible things that are being done in their names by their own elites. We ask honest Jewry to consider all of this and to help stop Zionist violence, even as a way of putting themselves out of harm's way. Because suffocating debate will only make the whole thing worse. It will make the Zionist problem go worse, and it will make future reactions even worse. Now, I know that this is a sensitive subject, but I owe it to myself, to my people, and to my fellow men the world over to say it as I have. You cannot understand the complex driving forces behind the New World Order over the past century until today if you ignore one of its most powerful and key factors: Zionism. It's tough, yes. Indeed, the truth hurts.